I am the big tank.
On the battlefield of life, nothing's harder than a tank. Yeah, have you ever met a man, hearts full of love, bigger than a tank?
Big tank.
He served in a few wars. He's a veteran that stands for a cause. For the best interviews and news, just keep it glued to the
Tank. I
tank.
am the tank. Big
Big
tank.
Tank Talk.
Tank.
Big Tank Talk.
Tank. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Big Tank Talk. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of introducing to you a veteran, a patriot, a clapper OG, and a dear friend, Intelligent Brother. Brother,
Hey,
welcome to the Big Tank Talk.
hey, appreciate it, Tank. You know, when you hit me up in a DM, you asked me. I said, "Man, it's an absolute honor, man." I said, "Shoot, I'm clearing the schedule. This is for my brother." Hey,
Believe me when
let's
I
go.
tell you, it's our honor to have you here today.
Oh,
Um,
appreciate.
every interview starts with the same question.
Yes,
Tell
sir.
us a little bit about you and how you came to be on Clapper.
Okay. A little bit about me. Born and raised in Oakland, California. Um, my late mother, she was born and raised in Brookhaven, Mississippi. Moved to Oklahoma City. That's where my brothers and sisters were born in Oklahoma City. And later came myself, which I was born in Oakland, California. And my biological father, you know, her and my mom, they did get, him and my mom, they didn't get married. So he was an Air Force veteran, served like 3 tours in Vietnam, um, turned 91 this in February. And an interesting fact, my birthday is February 22nd. My mother's birthday was February 28th, and my father's birthday is February 27th. So it's ironic that the mother, father, and the child had the same birthday in the same month. Oh,
That is
and so
unusual.
and after yes indeed, I'll fast track to high school. After graduating high school, because during junior high and high school, you know, I was in ROTC because I've always wanted to join the service, always, and because I come from a family of military. I had uncles. I had 3 uncles that served in Vietnam. uh, I don't drink. I don't drink. If I
Brother,
did,
brother, I'll
it,
don't worry about the questions. They get pinned
okay, okay.
and
You know,
I do ask them. I do ask the pin questions as well.
okay, yeah. You know me. I like to. Anybody ask me a question, I always like to oblige. So from junior high to high school, you know, I played basketball, and but I was in ROTC because that's one thing I wanted to do is join the service. And I had 3 uncles, one that served in the Navy, and he was in, you know, he served in Korea and Vietnam. And I had another 2 uncles that were in the Marines. They served in Vietnam, and you know, unfortunately, they were the victims of the Agent Orange situation. And so when they
Yeah.
came back from Vietnam, it was just really sad how they were treated and how a lot of veterans were treated when they came back from Vietnam. So after high school, I was in the delayed entry program, so I went into the Marines boot camp in San Diego and did my boot camp there, graduated, and from there I went to NES Meridian, Mississippi, for because my MOS was aviation supply clerk. So from there, I was stationed in Jacksonville, North Carolina, at MCAS New River, which is like 7 miles down the road from Camp Lejeune. So
Right.
I was air wing and supported a lot of squadrons. And my military time for 6 years was awesome. It was great. I met a lot of great people from all walks of life, all over the world. And I was in from 87 to 93. And right when Desert Storm started to jump off, my unit had orders to go to Desert Storm. You know, so being that my unit was attached to a squadron that was going, I was slated to go as well. So we had to do the NBC training, nuclear biological and chemical warfare training. And then
Right.
from there, they sent us up to the great state of Morgantown, West Virginia, on that Army base to train. And that's where I met a lot of other military personnel. I met some Royal Marines. I met a lot of the Israeli Marines. Uh, just a lot of different branches of service. And even though I wasn't infantry, but once you join the service, you're a soldier regardless. No matter what MOS you go in,
Right.
you're a soldier. So we had to train with a lot of people, and we did a lot of training. So when I got back to the base, our orders got canceled. So they ended up going to Desert Storm. So prior to my end of service, you know, I was going to stay in and reenlist, but unfortunately, my mom and my stepfather got sick. My mom, she had heart problems, and my
Right.
stepfather, he had diabetes, and so I had to make a decision because I know if I would have stayed in and reenlisted, they would have sent me straight overseas. That was just they were not going to send me back to California. Being from California, they were going to send me straight overseas, probably either Iwakuni or Okinawa. So I said to myself, I said, at the time, my brothers and sisters were not really in a good proximity to look after. Both my parents, they were still working, but no one was going to be there for them if they needed to go to the hospital or doctor's appointment. So I just made a decision. I said, you know what, family first, you know. And I told my OIC. He said you have to take care of your family,
Yeah.
because if you leave and go overseas, he said, do you know how hard it is to come back home to try to take care of family what they need you? I was like, yeah, I understand that. So I made that decision to forego, say doing 20 years in the service and just go back home and be there for my family. And so I had took the post office test before I went into the service because my stepfather worked at the post office. He said, look, take this test. So when you decide to get out the military and you're undecided about what you want to do next in your life, you have already passed the test. So all you have to do is go back and just do the strength and stamina test, and you'll have a job. So I was like, okay, makes good sense. So that's what I did when I came back, and it took about maybe 6 months to a year for the post office to call me. So in between time, I was just doing other things and stuff like that. But my
Welcome in,
main thing,
Ronan.
Tank, was to be there for my parents because they did so much for me, especially my stepfather. No disrespect to my actual biological father, but my stepfather, he was there and he taught me a lot. And it got to the point to where he was just, because of his drinking, he was an alcoholic. And when he
Right.
finally, stopped drinking, the doctor was like, hey, before he stopped drinking, the doctor was like, hey, you have diabetes and you can take this pill, but you're going to have to stop drinking. And my stepfather was just hard headed, like, he was a Southern man from Texas. I'm going to do what I want to do, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And he didn't stop drinking. And so when he finally did stop drinking, it was too late. So now you have to take the insulin shots. And my stepfather, Tank, was a big guy because he played football in college. So
Right.
to see him go from weighing 245 plus plus pounds and just being really strong to go down to like nothing, because with diabetes you have to go to dialysis, and dialysis is just, it's like, in some cases it's the last stop. But and my stepfather, he had a chance to cure that and just live a healthier lifestyle, but he decided not to. And so
Right. Had he
later in his
controlled his
life,
diabetes, he wouldn't have had the kidney issues, and he wouldn't have needed
exactly,
dialysis. And I
exactly.
mean, I've been diabetic 25 years, but my
There,
A1C is 6.4. I have control of my diabetes. I have
there you
no
go.
issues with my kidneys that I'm aware of. Um,
Yeah,
so I get all that.
yeah. So that right there, because one thing he always told me, he said, look, if you decide that you want to drink, do it in very small moderation. I said, well, you don't have to worry about that with me because I don't drink, I don't smoke. Those are things that I was never. It didn't interest me. because of what
Right.
I saw it did to my father. Even before that, before he started drinking, as a kid, I never wanted to do anything like that. So I kept that all the way through life. Now, I've had a sip of wine. I've had when I say a sip, I mean that much.
Yeah. I get
you
you.
know, and so I never smoked cigarettes, never did anything like that. And so watching him go from this to that, and having to get amputations of toes and stuff like that, and I never forget it. He told me, he said, "Look," he said, "I apologize for everything that I've done." He said, "But what you're looking at, what you see, is what happens when you do not take care of yourself, when you don't listen to people." And it was a good learning experience, and I've always spread that experience to other people because they would always ask me, "So you don't drink, you don't smoke?" I'm like, nope. What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me.
That
Those are
means you're
things that,
smart. That's what that is.
yeah, exactly. I mean, because you only have one body. You don't get two or three or four or five. You only have one life, and you don't know how long God wants you to be on this earth. So
Right.
however long He wants you to be here, you got to take care of that body that He gave you. It's just plain and simple. So after that, eventually he passed away, unfortunately. And my mom, she had heart problems, and she eventually had to get the bypass surgery. And once she did that, she was a lot better because I used to see her go through the pain and taking that nitroglycerin to ease the pain. And I remember her cardiologist would tell her, say, "Look, the reason why that you're having problems with your heart, you already know, brother, you
Yes,
know,
sir.
is the main thing for my mom was the stress. It was stress that, because when those arteries clog up, the blood can't get through there. That's why you had heart attacks, strokes, and stuff like that." And I remember him showing me. He said, "You take this as a lesson that you try your best not to let anything in this world stress you, because the more you get stressed, the more those arteries they clog up, they clog up, they clog up. Watch
You're
what you eat.
absolutely right.
Watch what you drink. I don't drink sodas, Tank. Anything with high fructose corn syrup, I stay away from, because none of that stuff is good for you anyway. The more
Right.
natural, if I tell anybody, if you have a farm near where you live, buy locally raised meat. Buy
Yep.
fruit and vegetables from the farm, and try your best to not have to rely on these stores, because these stores are set out to kill us. All this stuff is set out to kill us. So learning from all that, I try to live a really good life. And let me see more about me. Bro, this will take about 30 more episodes, but I just want to give you because it's so many things so many things I've seen, so many people I've met in different walks of life within working, and I did, like I said, I worked for the post office for 7 years, and
Right.
that was an experience. And I met a lot of good people there. And at the same time, I was doing music. I've been doing music since I was in like the seventh grade, but I didn't really start really getting serious about doing music until I got to the service. So I was doing music in the service, off times. And once I um, got out of the service and I was going to the post office, I was going, I have to answer this one. 29 stumps? Yes. Four times deployed there. Twice in the winter, twice in the summer. All I can say is watch out for the scorpions. So,
Hi, and welcome in.
what,
Excuse me a minute, brother.
yeah, go ahead, sir.
Welcome in to Malcolm and Ember. And those of you that have come in, we are interviewing Intelligent Brother. If you
Greetings.
could, just so we can get a few more questions, can you
Yes,
kind of
sir.
jump forward to what brought you to Clapper?
Okay, yeah, no problem. Like I said, I can do more interviews for you whenever you need me. Um, what brought me to Clapper? I was on this app called, uh, I can't think of the name of it right now, but it was an app that was based, hey, Amber, it was an app based in India. And when I first joined the app myself, and that's where I met Montreal Seahawk on that app. I can't remember the name of the app right now, but when I met Montreal, Montreal had like close to like 1 million followers on that app. And so when
Right.
I started, um, my follower list went insane. It got to the point where I had like a 700,000 followers. And that app, they always had like different contests and events to where the creators were actually getting paid. I mean, we were getting paid. We were getting paid, Tank. We were getting paid very real nicely. And then one day they shut it down with just no warning, nothing. So a lot of the money that Montreal had that he made, lost it. A lot of the money that I made on that app, lost it. They shut it down and everything. And the thing about it is that I know the lady that created the whole thing. I know her personally. And I tried to contact her several times and she just, so I'm like, you know what? That's life. Keep it moving. So one day I was somewhere and I see, I don't know where, I saw an ad for Clapper. I'm like, what is this Clapper? No. I'm sorry. Let me back it up. My buddy, Seattle Rob from TikTok, he hit me up. He said, hey, Mr. G, there's an app called Clapper. You need to check it out because they were paying him to help promote the app because he had a big following on TikTok. So, okay, I'll go check it out. So when I went to check it out, I'm like, oh, this seems cool. But then it was more political. It was a more political app when it first started in 2020. Because I think they started in June of 2020 and I came along in October.
So did
And
I, actually.
and yeah. And so yeah, it was more political. So I'm like, okay, cool. And at that time, talking about political stuff didn't bother me because, I took political science in college. So, I knew a few things about politics. But so that's how it started, and it was I enjoyed it. It was cool, and then I tried to bring other people on, but they didn't want to come on because they didn't want to be involved in politics. I said, well, you don't have to be just because this site is based on politics at the time. You still can do whatever you would like to do. I said, do not let a sign, deter you from something. And
Right.
so it took a long time for me to get Montreal to join. I said, Montreal, if you join, you're gonna really be very popular on this site. So it took a while, and he finally came along. So when I first started Clapper, it was very very it was cool, and I met a lot of great creators. We lost a few that passed away, and we lost quite a few that they just left. They had, they just like, they got tired of it and they, went their separate ways. You know, but my time here has been it has been good. I really didn't have any complaints. The only complaint that I did have for a while is how Clapper stopped replying to creators if we had a question for them about certain things within the app. That was my only gripe. And the more I would email, the more I would do this, the less response I would get. So I said, you know what? That's okay. I said, that's okay. I said, I know one thing about these apps is that when they start to become larger, there's more money involved. And I said, they should not do this. And I had to realize that, hey, this is not my business. It's not. So I can voice my opinion, but this is not my business. Now, if this was my business, yes, I would run it differently. I would have a section set up for people if they had a question about something, you're going to get an answer. But that's me. That's just me being, the person that I am.
Right.
So other than that, I say, you know what? Life is life. We can't sit around here and worry about certain things not going this way. I'm like, just make your content, put it out there, and make content for people to enjoy. And so that's where I'm at, and that's where I've been for the past couple of years. And I really stopped doing videos of showing my face. I just do videos just with messages or videos showcasing other people's talents and stuff like that. So I'm like, it's not about me. It's about what I can give to other people. That, it might be a little something humorous. It might be something that others might seem, super political, but I call it just a political cartoon. And
Right.
you know, a person can take it however they want. I mean, whether you're on the left or the right, it doesn't matter to me anymore. It really doesn't. Politics is politics. It is.
Agreed.
You
Agreed.
know, and
Uh,
and
let me
there's
let
a
me
man.
let me take care of a couple of these questions.
Yes,
Vamp,
sir.
he said he served 6 years in the Marine Corps.
Hoorah, brother.
Then
Hoorah.
and then before he reenlisted, he decided to get out and take care of his parents, which I absolutely respect. And Peter,
Yes, indeed.
uh,
Yes, indeed.
he does. He said he doesn't drink, so that should answer your question about whether he's had moonshine or Everclear. Um, I do have a question. Why did you choose the Marine Corps over the other branches of service?
Great question. Now, initially, I wanted to join the Air Force because of the stories my father, because he was in the Air Force, that he told me about the Air Force. So I don't know if you remember these commercials that would come on late at night about the Air Force. It was the Air Force Academy. So I was like, oh, I said, I think I would like to be an officer. That sounds cool. So I wrote a letter to the Air Force Academy, and they wrote me back, and they said, well, in order for you to be considered an applicant for the Air Force, you either have to be recommended by a senator or a politician or something like that. I'm like, okay. They said, well, you can still join. So I went to the recruiter. Actually, I went to the recruiting station and I talked to this guy that was in the Army, and he told me about the Army. I said, oh, okay, sounds cool. And you know, he took me out to dinner and brought me back to the house. He said, well, have you decided you're going to join the Army? I said, not really. I said, I think I want to join the Air Force. And he got mad and said, okay, whatever. So I went back, talked to the Air Force recruiter this time, and he said, well, what job are you looking to, or what career are you looking to have? And at the time, since I was so involved into music, I said, I would like a career in broadcasting. He said, well, we have a great opportunity where you can be trained to be a broadcaster and work for the Armed Forces USO under the, I said, oh, that's great. And he said, yeah, you'll be stationed in Germany. I said, man, that's even better. I get to travel. But he said, the only thing, there's a 6 month waiting list for this. I'm like, wait a minute, something doesn't sound right. So he said, yeah, you have to wait 6 months. He said, well, we can put you in something else. I'm like, nah. I said, nah, that doesn't sound right. No, I don't think so. So I walked out. And as I was walking out the recruiting station, I seen a gunnery sergeant Joyner. He said, excuse me, sir, can I get 5 minutes of your time? I said, nah, man, I got to go. He said, look, just give me 5 minutes of your time. I said, nah. Well, I said, okay. In 5 minutes, I'll sign on the dotted line, Tank. Because that man said, look, I can guarantee you a guaranteed rank. And I think guaranteed rank, like, you know, guaranteed lance corporal, then guaranteed corporal. He said, and everything after that, you got to work for it yourself. I said, okay. Um, in MOS, I want to put you in the same MOS that I served in, and that's aviation supply. I'm like, okay. So he explained it to me, showed me some videos. I said, you know what? I said, you know, I like this because his approach was like, this is what you can get, and this is what I can give you. If you like it, cool. If not, there's a door. I'm like, okay, I respect that. And so that's what started. I went to go join the Air Force and came out joining the United States Marine Corps. And like I said, I had never thought about joining the Marines, even though I had two uncles that were in the Marines. But I had never thought about it. But once I got there, man, it was a culture shock. Let me tell you,
I'm
it
sure.
was a culture shock. And I thought I was in shape when I went to boot camp. I thought I was in shape, you know, because I played basketball, ran track. I'm in good shape. Nah, I was not. I was in good shape, but I was not in Marine Corps shape. But
How,
it was
how
it
tough
was
is the
great.
Marine Corps obstacle course in boot camp?
You know what? It's really not that tough. It's more about for a lot of people to get over their fears of like heights and stuff like that. But it really wasn't that bad. Now, when you had to, they had a part of the obstacle course where you're walking down like this, you know, this rope, and you got one on at the bottom of your feet and one up here, and you're walking down, and you have to walk while the drill instructors is shaking the rope.
Right.
And they said the reason why we do this because if you're in combat, it's not everything is not going to be steady. Everything is not going to just be easy. It's going to be you have wind, you're going to have bullets flying. So you have to be able to deal with a lot of different circumstances while trying to do something. So the Marine Corps was more mental. It was a mental games. All boot camp they play mental games, but the Marine Corps, aside from the Navy SEALs, because I have a buddy that's a Navy SEAL. Besides that, Marine Corps is strictly mental. They will take 120 recruits and break them all the way down to think as one. Man, they played tank. They played games. They played some serious games. But you know, when boot camp was over and I graduated and they tell you the orders, prior to all that, I said, man, as soon as I get ready here and I see my drill instructor, I'm gonna punch him in the mouth because he was dogging us the whole time. But
Hmm.
when we had earned that title, they were the first to come up and say, you know what? Welcome aboard, brother. You made it. Welcome to the brotherhood. And look, I can tell you, bro, out of all the things I've ever done in my life or, accomplished, aside from getting married and buying my house, having a house built and stuff like that, besides that, that at that point in time, that was the greatest feeling in the world, man. You couldn't tell me anything. I think I was prouder than my parents. They were like ecstatic. And my father, he came too, but it was something, man. And to this day, one of my drill instructors, I'm still in contact with him. He lives in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It's like 5 hours from me. And
Right.
I taught, and it was just, man. And then all the bonds that I made over those years, with people that I still have like about 4 or 5 cats that I served with, and we've known each other for like going on like 35, 40 years, solid. Man, I got a cat named Robert Whitehair. He lives in the mountains, in the mountains, deep in the mountains.
North
I
Carolina
could call.
mountains.
No, he's not in North Carolina. He's in Tennessee, somewhere up in Tennessee,
Okay.
somewhere in Tennessee, way up in the mountains. And I could call him any day, if I have any problem, any day. He said, "I'm here, brother. I'm here. Let's go." And when I would go home on leave, and I would see people that I knew, and it was just different, except for really close friends that I have. But other people, it was just different. It was like, wow. I said, I have some friends that I just maybe just known for like maybe a couple of years, and they'll die for me, vice versa, whatever, they'll go toe to toe with me, and it didn't matter, white, black, green, yeah, it didn't matter. So coming back and hearing a lot of people having racist dialogue toward other races, I'm like, mm-mm. Because I was never like that anyway. So,
Right.
but the military, it made it just even better, man. So where it wasn't a thing of color. We are out here doing what we can to keep this country safe from foreign invaders. That's the main thing. And a lot of people don't understand that about the military.
One
We have
thing
a
I
lot of,
found, and
yes,
I
sir.
wasn't a Marine, I was a sailor,
Yes, sir.
but it's all a brotherhood.
It is,
And,
bro. It is.
what we do, whether it's Air Force, Army, Navy, or Marine Corps, we train to fight a war. If we
Yeah.
don't ever fight it, that just means we're lucky. But
Yeah.
that's what you train for. And in that situation, um, you're putting your life in the guy beside his hand, and he's putting his life in yours. And it don't
Yeah.
mean shit if he's white, black, Oriental.
It don't.
That,
It don't.
you're counting on him to have your back, and he's counting on you to have his. And that's one thing
Yep.
I really enjoyed about being in the
Yeah.
military.
Yeah. I mean, because it's just it's a camaraderie that you just cannot duplicate, man. I have friends from the Navy, I have friends from the coast, every branch of service. I have friends, and like I said, my buddy that's a Navy SEAL, I talked to him a couple of times in passing, and what he does,
Excuse me.
he can't really talk about it. He's got that real high clearance. So, but still,
Right.
I serve with a lot of, man, just amazing, amazing people, male, female, just amazing people. And I hear some people talk today. It's like, I'm not, if they decide they want to do a draft, I'm not fighting for nobody. I'm like, wow, really? Really? And somebody asked me, say, hey, if they asked you um, to suit up, and yep, I would. Even at my age, even though my age is over the limit, yes, if they needed me, I would. And anybody that thinks that, you know, now some people, they're just not cut for the military. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then there's people that just hate the military. I mean, why do you hate the military when you don't know anything about it? You
That's
don't,
it. That's it, though, brother. They don't know anything about it.
yeah, they go off what they see on the TV.
Yeah.
That and the TV and stuff like that. No, you have to, just about everybody. I'm quite sure everybody that's on this live right now, they probably had someone in their family that was in the military, or you know what I'm saying, somebody,
Yep.
and it's it's a lot of people that are no longer here that lost their lives in the military to keep this country safe. In other countries as well to keep their country safe from foreign
Let me break
invaders.
in here, brother, with a
Yes,
couple
sir.
of questions. American Truth wants to know. Now I'm going to phrase his question my way. Um, we both swore the same oath when we joined the military.
Yep.
Support to defend the Constitution. Um, do you still believe that that oath applies, even though you're no longer active duty military?
Of course, 100%. Of
Okay,
course,
that was American Truth's question. Um,
that 100%. Yes,
and I'm with you on that. Just so you know, Paul wants to know if someone asked you advice about joining the forces, what would you say to them?
I would tell them the first thing to do is ask yourself, what do you want to do in the military? And then also look at all branches of the military and look at all the different career paths that they have available and see if that works for you. Because a lot of people think that if you join the military, you're automatically going to infantry and you're automatically going to war. And that's not true. It's not true. The people that join infantry are cast that want to be out there. They want to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that because there are many jobs within the military. And I tell anybody, if you want to go, I said, if you want to join the military, try it for 4 years to see how you like it. Try it for 4 years and see how you like it. I mean, because
I
it
also
takes,
tell them, like you had mentioned, you started with, have an idea of what you want to do,
yeah,
because there's a chance, whether it's Marine Corps, the Navy, Air Force, Army, there's a chance that what you want to do can be accommodated by one branch of the military or another.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And the benefits, you can't, you know, I had a friend whose son, they spend so much money for college. His parents work like a dog to send this young man to college. And his father was trying to encourage him to join the military. He's like, I don't want to join the military. And so when he got out of college, they have this massive college debt that they have to pay back before, and if he gets a job, they're taking that money out of his check. And
Right.
if he would have went to the military, he could use his GI Bill while he's in and even when he's out. And I still think they pay like what 80% of the college tuition, and you got to put the
A
other 20.
significant bit of it, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, so I tell people, hey, military is a great career. It's a job that's never going to go bankrupt and it's never going to close.
Right.
So
Peter,
the job security is great.
excuse me a second. Peter, he's
Yeah.
already said he spent 6 years in the Marine Corps. Then he got
Mhm.
out to take care of his parents, so he's no longer in, and he's not retired, but he is a veteran, just like me. Um, the obnoxious heifer, which is my friend Vamp, wants to
Mhm.
know, and you're going to like this question: which crayon is your favorite? Respectfully, and brother, I want to show you something. Okay, hang with me, stick with me a minute, but I got to
All
show
right.
you this
Well,
because
my favorite color is green.
You just never know. I just never know, and I'll have a Marine brother come to visit me, so I always have
Yeah,
snacks for him.
you never know, man. And some Marines they get truly offended by it, but myself, I'm like, nah. We all have people don't understand that all branches of military, we all joke with each other. We all talk trash to each other, but it's just all love. Without the Navy is our Uber driver when we have to go somewhere because without the Navy, we could not get to where we need to get. People, you have to big up the Navy because they make sure it happen. So and a lot of people don't know that the Marines we are part of the Department of the Navy, so we're like the younger brother to the Navy. So we go hand in hand.
Absolutely. I'm going to skip one of Truth's question to ask another. He says he wants to know: do you believe we are the most powerful military in the world?
Um, I would say to that question, I would say yes for the simple fact it's not about technology, it's not about arms or anything of that nature. It's the
Right.
simple fact that the United States of America has a military base in just about every country of the world, and no other country will ever have a military base in the United States. That's why we are the greatest military in the world because and it's not a bragging thing. It's just that we are set up to assist people in other countries in their country. Like a
Right.
lot of smaller countries may not be able to have everything to stop another foreign country from invading them. So I don't know what year that was set up, but that's why we're the strongest because we have bases everywhere. We have bases everywhere.
Absolutely.
So,
Peter asked, and this is a really good question, Peter. What advice do you give to any veteran as with regard to adapting to civilian life again after time in the military?
oh, that's a good question. That and that depends on what job you had in the military. Now, a lot of my friends that were infantry and served in wars. If you served in a war, sometimes it can be a little difficult because a lot of our brothers and sisters have PTSD. So they
Right.
have to make sure that they get plenty of treatment. But for everyone else that just served, just did a regular job, the best thing to do before you get out is just figure out if you want to continue in the same field that you did in the military and branch it off into civilian life. I always say, like maybe a year to 6 months before you get out, start doing your research. Say, do I still want to do what I've done in the military in civilian life? And then you can start, doing your research and putting out resumes and stuff like that. But the best thing to do is just take a slight break when you get out and just relax. Because I know when I got out of service, I had a chip on my shoulder. It was just I was fresh out the military with the military mindset. So it took me about a good year to really calm down, just to
Understood.
calm down because the way that a military person, their mind is how you're taught is different from a civilian. And so we have to do things differently. We have to be cool and calm because if we do something, we go out and rob a bank or do some type of crime, they're not going to be lenient just because we're a veteran. They're going to be like, I'm going to make an example out of you because you know better. You have the discipline. Why are you doing this? Because a military person is put up on this pedestal, not because
Right.
we want it. It's just it put up to this standard. You know, a lot of companies will hire a military veteran first because they know, oh, this person has a lot of discipline. They're going to be on time. They're not going to be late, and they know how to deal with people. And so
And one other
that's
thing, somebody who's
that's
been in
right.
the military knows how to be part of a team.
That's right. Because a lot of people can't take orders. They're like, I'm not going to tell me what you do. I said, it's not even about that. You're trying to accomplish something, so somebody has to give an order. You know. So, I mean,
I have another question
yes,
regarding
sir.
your service. Um, Most people know Semper Fi, Semper Fidelis means always faithful.
Hmm.
Um, do you still have that strong? Does that Marine Corps motto still resonate strongly with you now,
Yes,
even though you're
yes,
a veteran now?
yes, yes. It never goes away because it teaches you, just like any branch of service, honor, respect, honor your mother, honor your parents, love for your country. But simplify is like always faithful. It's like you never leave anybody behind. You never leave your brother or your sister behind, and that resonates today. I'm the same way with all the people that I know. If there's something I can do for somebody, I'm there. If they need, I've had friends that had, that were suicidal, and they would call me in the middle of the night, like, brother, I need to talk to you. Hey, what's going on? What's up? And so I would do everything I could to keep them from going that route. So like it says, always faithful. We're gonna always look out. No one is ever left behind. So yeah, it resonates today.
Yeah, and I have several Marine Corps friends,
Hmm.
including one of my best friends who joined the Marine Corps a couple of years after I joined the Navy.
Hmm.
Um, and I am one of the few non-Marines that can tell them Semper Fi and they don't get offended or like, "Well, you're not a Marine, you can't do," I understand uh, how strong of a thing that is for my Marine Corps brothers.
Yeah,
I
because
got
like
one other.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. One other
Yeah, because
question.
I'm sorry, bro. Yeah, because Navy, Marine Corps, we're we're like this. So
Yeah,
we,
yeah, very literally brothers.
yep.
One other question about your service specifically before I move on.
Hmm.
How did your time in the Marine Corps affect your worldview?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a real good question. Now, my time in the Marine Corps, from the things that I've seen in the Marine Corps and how we were treated as veterans, because we were treated, especially in North Carolina, with the utmost respect, because the South loves the veterans. They bleed
Yes, sir.
veterans all through the South and the Midwest. California, yes, then sometimes no. But as far as my worldview, it was great. It was really great. I mean, because when we were in the service, we were not allowed to talk to the press about if we were out in town or something like that. We were not allowed to talk to the press about anything because they said, "Hey, that is not your job. Your job is to do what you signed a contract for." So we, stuff that happened during my time, um, whatever president we had, it was like whatever he did, whether he's a Democrat, whether he's a Republican, whatever the case may be, it didn't matter. That's the commander in chief. That is the commander in chief. So we work for him, and it's our job to do what we have to do. So no matter what was going on in the world, my views didn't change. It didn't change. It didn't go like, I see a lot of people, they have hatred toward this president, that president. And I'm like, nah, it never changed. It didn't mean that because I was here to do a job. And once I got out, I was the same way.
Right,
It didn't change. And some people were like, oh man, how do you feel? I said, you don't understand. You have to be in the part of the government to understand how the government works. And you either have a respect for the government or you have no respect for the government. Now, you can have respect or no respect by how a government official conducts themselves and say, hey, that's not the way you should conduct yourself. Yeah, you can have a gripe about that. But as far as the office of the president or this and that,
right.
I,
The
I,
the,
I
the
always,
saying the saying there, brother, is and it's something I personally ascribe to. Always respect the office, but the person inhabiting that office has to earn respect for him as an individual.
yeah, that's right. 100% true. 100%.
Um, Now, one of the things I introduced you as is a patriot. I know you're a patriot.
Hmm.
So this is kind of a loaded question,
Yes, sir.
but what 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 does it represent to you when you see the American flag flying?
Ah, that is such a good question. When I see the American flag, that means that the people that came before us, before we were even thought about, they paid dearly with their lives and everything to make sure that people in this country going forward would never have to be bothered with, like I said, those foreign invaders. Because I think back when the British were trying to, and hey, it's nothing against the British, because that it was just that time during that time period where the British were trying to invade the United States. However, that the whole thing went down, and I think it was just they wanted to have something to say, hey, we're Americans, this is our land, and you're not, like they say, you're not going to tread on us. It was just being proud of your country that you established, and you want to keep it like that, and you'll do anything, you'll die before you let somebody else come over in your country and just take over it. Because I guess back during that time, a lot of countries were invading other countries and just taking this and taking that. So they just, hey, this is our flag, this is what we stand for, and we're not going to let anybody tread over us. So that's why one thing, Tank, when I see people, some of these protesters out here burning the flag, I'm like, really?
Yeah,
Really? Do you know how many people? I mean, and it has nothing to do with color. And I tell people all the time, it don't have anything to do with color. It's so many people that lost their lives to make sure that we're okay and that we're safe in this country. So
absolutely.
yeah,
I'm with you on that, brother. You know, the, we have, whether we know them or not, a lot of brothers and sisters that come home in a box draped with that flag.
yep,
Um, and that's a sacrifice that I never take lightly, not ever.
no, not at all, brother, not at all.
I have to ask Peter's question. I try to get everybody's question. He wants to know what were your standard weapons you were issued when you were in the Marine Corps.
The rifle was M16. Yep, M16.
Okay. Paul wants to know what's the best advice you've ever been given. Now, this doesn't have to be military, just in general.
Oh, the best advice that I've ever been given was my late mother. She, actually, it's a two-part answer. My late mother told me that sometimes in life, people are not going to understand you. And she said, do not waste your time trying to make people understand you. And she said that you have to go and through this life with honor and respect and never backstab anybody and treat everyone the same way and never harden your heart. And now my stepfather, this was a funny one. He said, look, the only thing you need to know in life is is be careful who you surround yourself with and know how to count your money so no one can ever cheat you.
That's
So
really good advice, actually.
yeah. And he said, you can go to school and learn arithmetic and algebra. And he said, unless you're going to be a scientist, he said that really doesn't, you know, it doesn't make any sense. He said, as long as you can add, subtract, and divide, he said, no one can ever rob you of your money. And
Right.
they both always said, treat people with kindness. You know,
Well, you definitely do that. I see it on here.
yeah,
Um,
I
and you
mean,
respect people, and that's not a little thing, believe me.
no, I
Um,
mean, like I said, kindness is free. You ain't got to pay for
yes,
it.
sir. And that's an important thing for me. I preach love and positivity. I try to treat people the way I want to be treated, and
Yeah,
you know that's not a bad way to live your life.
no, I mean because
Peter wants to know if
yeah.
you ever worked in private security.
No, I did not. I had an opportunity. Um, I got offered to come and visit the NSA at one point in time, but I was at that point in time I was too involved in the music industry and I was just doing way too many things, and the timing was off. If they would have contacted me when I got first out the military, that's probably what I would have definitely went an interview for that job. But at the time they hit me, I was too busy doing music and other stuff, just too busy.
So Bugs wants to know, do you have any decisions or moments in your life that you regret?
Let me see. I'm gonna think on that one. Regrets. Actually, the nah, I don't. I don't have any regrets. I really don't because I look at it like this. The way your life, the, the way your life is, and the way your life goes is the way God said it. Now, s- certain things that you may want to do and that you keep getting the doors closed may be something that God does not want you to do, because God wants all of us to do a certain thing, and it's up to us to realize what it is that God wants us to do. Some learn at a young time in their life, and some years later. But
Right?
I don't regret anything. Everything I've done in this life, I've never treated anyone unfairly. I've never stolen from anyone. I've never um, said any bad things about people. If I had something to say about somebody, I'm not going to call you on the phone. I'm going to come find you and I'm going to sit down and talk to you. And I would tell people, hey, if I ever said anything to you that may have offended you or hurt your feelings, please let me know, because I'm blunt. I'm straight to the point. And a lot of times, you know, being former military, we
Mm,
speak a certain way, and certain people, they a lot of times they're thin skinned, so a lot of things they can't handle. So I would tell people, hey, if I've ever said anything to you that was a little bit too harsh, let me know, and I'll be the first one to come say, I apologize, because I'm just, I love you, so that's why
yeah,
I talk to you the way I do. So, but nah, as far as regret, nah, I don't regret anything, nothing at all, because my
I
life
respect that. Now I've
is
got a
planned out.
question.
Yes,
I've
sir.
got a question that's probably going to sound like a silly question,
Oh no, every
but I
question
think
is a
it's
good
deep.
question.
I think it's deeper than that. Are you proud to be an American?
Hell yeah. They can they can ask me that question every day, 20 times a day, and the answer is always going to be the same thing. Hell yes. Excuse my language, but yes, indeed, proud, proud, proud,
Absolutely,
100%.
brother. Like I said, it sounds like a silly question, but
No,
especially in the climate of today in a country, it's
yeah,
it's it's a deeper question than people realize.
yeah, yeah. Because a
So,
lot of people, from what I see, I'm how they talk. I'm like, well, if you hate the United States of America so much, why are you still here? Go to
right,
another country if you can get in. Go to another country. And other countries are great. The other countries are great, but at the same time, if you think it's so bad here, go to India,
right,
go to Pakistan, go anywhere.
brother. I've been to 22 different countries, and I enjoy my time in all of them. But
Yeah,
there is nothing like being home in the United States of America. Nothing.
no, it's not, man. Unfortunately, my travels in the military, as far as deployments, were like either California, and I did one deployment to Cuba for a hot minute, but that's a whole nother story. But my travel came later, you know. But I can say, being in the military, knowing so many different people from different states, I can say that I've been to every state in the United States except Alaska and yeah, Alaska. That's the only state I have not been to. I've been to every state in the United States.
That's
So,
good. I've been to 41 of them, so I still need to hit a few more before I can say that.
oh, and Hawaii. So I'm sorry, Alaska and Hawaii. I've never been to those two states, but everywhere else. And I've met great people in every state. I would tell my friends, I said, if you want to learn something that's not in the book and you can't learn in school, travel. Go to other countries, go to other states and see how they live. And then when you get a chance, go to other countries. And you'll have a
Absolutely.
very good perspective on life. Trust and believe.
Now, before I ask the next question, I want to
Hmm.
take a minute and let everyone know that next Sunday, April the 5th, is Easter,
Hmm.
and Big Tank Talk will be taking this Sunday off. But on the following Sunday, I will be interviewing the real Tim Shady.
Hey, my brother
It's
Tim Shady. All right. Haven't seen him in a
it'll be
while.
his second interview with me, but and was going to do it in December, and then I had a heart attack and open heart surgery, so that all got put on the back burner. Um, but I'm thrilled that he'll be coming back, and he wants to come back, and we'll do another interview with him. And uh, Tim is a great guy,
Yeah, he
and
is.
he has a Wednesday night live called The Real, which is a
Hmm.
men's mental health live. It's something I've been a part of since the beginning,
Yeah.
and I encourage you guys, if you want to have questions regarding men's mental health or regarding his wedding in October.
Oh,
Uh,
he's getting married. I haven't talked to Tim in a long time. I need to tap in with Tim. Oh,
he's married. He
congratulations on
met
that.
his future wife Storm Witch right here on Clapper.
Oh, Storm Wish. Okay. That's awesome. Oh man, I have
Anyway,
to reach
I
out to
always announce it during the interview,
okay.
which my next interview is going to be. And
That's good. That's a
now,
that's a
I
blessing.
love Bug's question. It's one I plan on getting to. You mentioned involvement in the music industry. How so, and is it anything we would know?
Ooh, man. Now, okay, let me break this one down. I started doing music when I was in seventh grade. Um, I really, doing local talent shows and stuff like this, blah blah blah. And when I went to the service, that's when it really started picking up because I met a lot of people from New York. And at that time, New York is the epicenter of music. So we would go to New York, I'm meeting people, going to different studios. And I'm gonna tell you now, this is a very true story. When Desert Storm hit and my unit didn't go, they offered us to have um, a voucher to move out in town. So me and my buddy, we went and rented a townhouse for, remember the good old days, Tank, $300 a month
That's definitely the good old days,
for
bro.
2 bedroom. So we didn't have any furniture except for our beds and stuff like that. And downstairs we had like a couch and a couple of bean bags. So another buddy of mine, we went to a music store. We bought a 4 track, and I had some stereo equipment. And another guy that was a DJ, he lent me his mixer. So I built like a little makeshift studio. And so we just gathered a bunch of people that was in service, a bunch of cast that were civilians, and we just started recording and putting together music. I was like the main producer, and I had an older guy. He was friends with um, Puffy, Diddy, Sean Combs, right? And so at that point in time, Sean Combs had just started Bad Boy Records. And so he said, hey, man, let's finish this demo tape and then I will take it up to Sean because he had just started the label. So I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And so I actually talked to Sean a few times. He called me. He said, hey, man, as soon as we get this demo tape, we're going to sign you guys because I have to sign groups. So it was 13 of us. And at the time, we called ourselves Brothers Universal, which was the meaning of that because it wasn't just black. It was a mixture of different races of people, and we were all universal. We had the same mindset because most of us were military, so we had the same mindset of being unified and doing stuff together. And so the buddy went up to supposedly went up to New York to deliver the demo tape. So Diddy, Sean, or Puffy, he called me and said, "Hey man, your buddy didn't come up here with the demo tape, so I have to sign somebody." I was like, "Okay, it is what it is." So he ended up signing the cat, Notorious Big, and so come to find out that my buddy, him and Puffy had some type of little problems going on. That's why he never took the tape up there. So that ended that. So we still continue doing shows and open up for acts. And so when I got out the military and I got back to California, I went full force into doing music before I started working at the post office. So I was still producing, um, started my own record label, and I gathered up some more acts in California, and I put together this really good movement. And myself, I didn't really want to do a whole bunch of rapping and anything like that. I just wanted to be the producer and be behind the scenes and run the company. I was running the company by myself, Tank, doing everything, paying the DJs off to play the records, getting videos done and getting flyers and doing all the promotions. So I was doing all this by myself and working at the post office and going to college. Now you can imagine with those three things, there's a thing called sleep that's gonna like disappear in that picture.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so as the music started to really generate and a lot of offers started coming in, I had to make a choice. I said, I'm making more money doing this music than I am working at the post office. I'm making 5 times my salary in a month than my yearly salary. So I had to make a really expensive choice. I said, okay, either I stay at the post office, go to school, or do this music because I can't do all three at the same time. So I said, okay, I can always go back to school, cut that off. So I said, okay. I stayed at the job for a little bit longer because I had money set aside and it was like a 401k. They call it their savings plan. I said, okay, I'm gonna stay here long enough to build some more money up. And they was like, oh, I was coming in late because I was doing shows, going to the studio, stuff like that. So they said, look, if you don't come to work on time, we're going to fire you. So I'm like, okay. And see, I was a union rep as well. I was a union rep for the local 302. And so I said, you know what? So what I did, I resigned. So I said, you resign. So if this music doesn't jump off or whatever the case may be, I can always go back. So I
Right.
resigned and I drew down the money that I had in that account. And I took that money and the money that I was making with the music and I put just about everything into everything we was doing. And it was going great. We had interactions with Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre wanted to sign me and a few other people. And to make a long story short, because there's so many layers to this whole music thing. And the thing with Puppy didn't pan out. I didn't talk to Puppy again. Actually, I didn't talk to him anymore after that. Dr. Dre, that situation didn't pan out because there was a middleman that owned a website called artistfinders.com where they would take music and put on the site and A&Rs would come to that site and look for artists to sign. And he wanted me, because I sent an actual tape, a CD to Dr. Dre. But unfortunately, a lot of record labels, if you send stuff to the companies, it's called unsolicited material. So they're just going to throw it in the trash anyway. You just can't
Right.
send them stuff anymore. So Dr. Dre liked the CD. He gave it to his buddy. He said, hey, have your buddy run this through your system, and then I will have one of my A&Rs come through and pick him up that way. And then I said, okay, cool. So when he told me that, he said, come down to LA, let's talk. So I went to LA, talked to him. He said, look, I'm not going to charge you to be on his site. I said, that's kind of strange. What do you want? He said, look, if you can get all the artists that you know in the Bay Area to sign up for this site for $1,000 a piece, do you know how much money you can make? I said, you know what, sir? I can't do that because that would be operating on a lie. Now, the site says if you pay $1,000 a month to be on this site, you could possibly be seen by an A&R, and they could possibly listen to your music, and you could possibly be considered for a record deal. So that's a possibility. It's not like
That's a lot of
it.
money on a maybe.
Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, I said, nah, I have way too much honor and integrity, and I'm not going to lie to people. Yes, I had a lot of artists in the Bay Area that I had at least about 30 or 40 people that would have done that. But you're looking at 30 people at $1,000 a piece. You said, man, all that money can go to your pocket. I said, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to hustle people. That's not my character. I can't do that. So that situation with Dr. Dre never panned out because of this person was too busy trying to cheat people and wanted me to be involved in his sin. I said, I
Right.
can't do that. I said, if I'm involved in your sin, then that means I'm sinning too. No, can't do that. So that went down by the wayside. And so throughout that time, man, I met a lot of people, continued making money independently. And I think the down point happened where we had some investors that wanted to invest a lot of money. And one of the artists that I was working with, he was the boyfriend of one of the investors. And she wanted to invest a large sum of money. And she had a college friend that wanted to invest a large sum of money to the independent label. So me being good at math, like my stepfather taught me to add and subtract. And I told my buddy, I said, hey, if we take this amount of money, it's only going to take us this amount of money to put into the 5 or 6 groups we have. And then we could turn around from each group and we're going to make at least 10, 20, $30,000 just on the street from selling CDs hand to hand. And the thing about the contract that I signed with her, it stated that, hey, this is an investment. There's no guarantee that you're going to make exactly what you put in. And then I
Right.
asked her and her friend, I said, do you want all your money back, or are you just trying to be a philanthropist and just, we're just going to do philanthropy? I said, okay, so basically, you're just going to give me this money, and okay, cool. So that meant that I could have helped a lot of people become very wealthy and help their families and just do really nice things. But it was one person, one snake that didn't want to be with the girl anymore, even though she was the one funding a lot of stuff that we were doing. He didn't want to be with her anymore. He got big headed. So he decided that he wanted to start beating on her. He started abusing the young lady. And so I remember she called me. She said, I want all my money back. I said, well, unfortunately, ma'am, you didn't invest that money yet, so I couldn't give it to you. And the money that you did invest, yeah, I can give you that back for the initial CDs. That was like a couple of grand. And she said, oh, no, just forget it. And she went about her way. So that one person just sabotaged a whole nother situation to where a lot of people could have been really successful. And so, after that, that just kind of went downhill. But, I never stopped doing music at that time. And I think after that, I just kind of like, settled down and, decided to go a different way in life and just do other things. But as far as the music business, from what I've seen, and I'm quite sure people have questions about the music industry itself. And one thing I can say, certain parts of the music business is very, very evil. And it takes a very strong person that's strong in their faith to go into that business, survive, and not be a victim, because they have to know who they are as a person and what they're trying to achieve. Now, a lot of people are just trying to achieve fame. They want to be famous. They want what they see these celebrities have. And, a lot of these celebrities are selling their souls left and right. And I mean, I know a lot of people personally. And people say, well, what do you mean by selling your soul? It's just real simple. If you're a Christian artist, you sing gospel music, and you had a record deal singing gospel, and your records are not really selling that much, what are you going to do? Are you going to say, you know what, I'm going to keep trying as a gospel artist until it just don't work anymore? Or are you going to switch up and become an R&B singer and sing about
Excuse
stuff
me.
and sing about things that go against your morals of how you were raised? And most people are like, nah, I wouldn't do that. But then most people do. And I know people personally that sang in the church. Father's a pastor. Mother's is she's in the church, whatever the case may be, comes from a Christian background, all that good stuff. And now this person is singing about stuff that's just the opposite, evil. And she sold her soul for famous. That's what people don't understand. They think, oh, you're selling your soul to the devil. No, it's not an actual devil, but you're selling your soul of your morals and the things that you say you believe deeply in just for a few dollars, a little fame. And the thing about music is not that many people that have a very long career, a long career. And some of them that do, they are already dealing with evil spirits to even last that long.
Right.
I mean, so, but the music business, you can, this day and age, you can be your own music. You can be your own label. You can do and put out your own stuff that you want and not be controlled by these labels. That's what you can do today. So it just depends on what a person is. Are they trying to be rich and famous, or are they just really trying to put their music out there? That's the key. And unfortunately, with these videos that you see on TikTok and Instagram that showcase this lavish lifestyle and everything, a lot of younger people they flock to it. They flock to
And
it, and and it's not what it all seems to be. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
yeah, Ronan, and I call Ronan a rock star, and I'm his biggest fan. He plays a progressive rock type music,
Hmm.
and he made a comment earlier. He said for years, and he said it as long as I've known him, that the music industry is brutal,
Oh, it
and I
is.
know it is.
It's cutthroat. It's cutthroat. They'll chew you up and spit you out. That's the truth. That's the truth. You have to have thick skin.
Brother. I have to ask you this right now.
Hmm.
Will you come back? I've got a couple of Sundays open in June.
Come on, man.
That is
Man,
the next available. The next available
bro,
dates I have are the 21st and 28th of June.
pencil me in. Just let me know what day that falls on. Cause
I will definitely. I got somebody considering the 21st. How about if I go ahead and pencil you in for June the 28th,
okay, what day is that on? You know?
Sunday? It's always on a Sunday.
Oh, it's on. Of
Yep.
course, got you, brother. Of course,
And I appreciate you, brother. I've been looking forward to this interview since the day you told me you were willing to do it.
man.
Um, and I still got a bunch of questions that we didn't get to, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's a good reason to bring you back and ask more questions. I
If
love
you hey,
listening to you, brother. I'd love
if
to
you
hear. I'd
if
love
you
to
get,
hear
I'll
what you
cut
do
you.
musically as well.
Okay, if you got one more question, man, give me one more question from you or from anybody, and then we'll sign it off with a great answer.
All right,
If anybody,
guys.
one more.
I'll give you guys the opportunity to ask Intelligent Brother a question. If you don't have one, then I will ask him one more. Um, it'll be a loaded question. So, um, yeah, that I will do that anyway. But he wants one more question. So, but this is a good question. Bugs posed this: take the red pill, you're 100,000 richer, 45 years old, or blue pill, you're 5,000 richer, but you're 10 years old and know what you know now. Which would you choose?
That's a good question. Say it again. I want to hear it again because I'm probably thinking about this all
If
night.
you take the red pill, you're 100,000 richer, 45 years old. If you take the blue pill, you're 5,000 richer, but you're 10 years old, but you know what you know now.
So I'm taking the second one, man. I've already touched $100,000. Ain't no big deal. $100,000 is really not no money. It's not. It's not. I've seen that. I mean, $100,000 is good money today, but
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it's not about the money. I'll take the five and then go back to 10 and know what I know, and then just start over and spread the knowledge. That's more knowledge is more valuable than gold. Tell you the truth. That
Now,
was a
brother,
very good question.
it was an excellent question. I end every interview by offering my guest, and today I'm offering to you an opportunity to do a shout out of your choice.
A shout out to my choice. I'll make it real easy, man. I want to shout out to 50 people on here. I want to give a shout out to all 50 people that came to this live to one support my brother Big Tank, who is a phenomenal, my tongue twisted, who is a great man, a great person. And I want to give a shout out to the people that support him for everything that he does. And yeah, I want to give a shout out just to people and just, hey, keep living your life, keep being kind to each other, respect each other, and pay it forward. Because the real rock stars are these 50 people or 48 that's still here. Those are the rock stars. I give a shout out to them. And I hope,
I,
and I wish everybody the best, that they have a healthy life, a happy life, and and wish that their families are well, and that everybody just love each other.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. And I got to tell you, brother, I raised my children, my daughters, to live the philosophy of pay it forward. Um, Kindness is, there's no cost to be kind, so there's no reason to be anything but kind to people. And
That's real.
we don't know what people are going through from their day to day lives, and that one little
Exactly.
act of kindness that you show them could be the difference in the trajectory of their day and their life. You don't know,
That's right.
and
I
then
mean,
it's nothing. It's nothing to be kind to somebody. I just don't get why people. There's mean people. I just don't get it.
yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
I also want to shout out Paul Fear the Reaper, who does the screen recording every week.
shout out to Paul.
Couldn't do this
Awesome.
without him. I want to shout out Bug70. She's the mod that does the pins the comments. So that with only one mod pinning it, they're not getting pinned over each other before I get to them.
Right.
I also want to thank my mods that are in here. They keep the chat moving. They keep the riffraff out, so to speak.
That's good.
The people that come in here trying to sell, some part of their body for a nickel.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
get that either, but it's what it is.
Right.
And last but not least, brother, uh, I have nothing but love and respect for you. I really appreciate you taking the time today, and I'm looking forward to the next one in June. Um,
It goes both ways. What I'm gonna do when I get off, I'm gonna go to your DMs and I'm gonna shoot you my cell phone number because a lot of times for some reason when I get messages on Clapper, I don't get the alert. So I'm gonna give you my number. So you know, anytime, man, you need to talk to me or you want to update me on something, just hit me up. And I want to tell who's it? Kevin Arsenal 67. I'm gonna tell him one thing. Hammersmith. Are you familiar with the area?
all right, when you
All right.
DM me your number,
Yes,
uh,
sir. I will.
you'll get mine right back. Um, and that goes both ways. Anytime I'm available to my friends, anytime, day or night.
Awesome. Yeah,
Um,
because I know when I didn't see you for a while, because I would see you all the time. We were both commenting on each other's videos, and I said, man, where's Big Tank? I haven't seen him in a while. Then when I finally saw you, that's why I reached out to you. I said, man, where you been? And you told me what happened. I said, oh man, I was shocked. I was kind of hurt, but I was praying for you. I was like, man, I'm glad that you're better, and that you're moving forward and you're good to go. And it's upwards from here, brother. It's upwards from here.
I got